So this adventure is going to be an attempted through hike of Section H of the Pacific Crest Trail in Washington State. Section H is the section between the Bridge of the Gods in the Columbia River Gorge and the White Pass Ski Resort off Highway 12, west of Natchez or east of Packwood, Washington. So Section H of the Pacific Crest Trail is about 140 miles with 26,000 feet of elevation gain. Because there's a significant net elevation loss hiking from White Pass to the Bridge of the Gods, I've chosen to hike this section southbound. So starting at White Pass and hiking to the Bridge of the Gods, that net elevation loss will make the hike easier going southbound than it would be coming northbound. So because I'm starting at White Pass today, I'm about 5 miles out of White Pass currently. So because I'm hiking from White Pass, when I give mileages in today's video, they will be relative to White Pass. So right now I'm at the 5 mile mark, which means I'm 5 miles from where I started at White Pass. And the focus of this first video, because I'm going to break the Section H video up probably into 4 distinct videos based on the 4 main features I have mentally broken this hike into. So the focus of this first video is going to be the Goat Rocks Wilderness, which is where we'll be hiking today. And of course, the key feature when you hike the Pacific Crest Trail through the Goat Rocks is the crossing of the Knife's Edge, which should happen sometime in the early afternoon today. So about 5.4 miles in right now, I can see Rimrock Lake off in the distance. We're currently hiking across a large bowl that takes you over to the pass that is directly above Shoe Lake. So this is one of my favorite parts of this section of the trail. So just a hair over 6 miles in, we have Shoe Lake down below us. Always a beautiful spot, a nice day hike in its own right. And I just got eaten up by a trail runner. And we got the heart of the Goat Rocks showing up in the foreground. So we're hiking away towards the heart of the Goat Rocks. About 6 miles right here. Goat Rocks in the foreground. And off to my right, way over to my right, got Rainier poking up. So at the 12.7 mile mark, you show up at what on the maps is going to indicate it's Lutz Lake. You can see it's not really a lake. However, it is a trailside water source, and there are several good campsites here, at least 4 that I saw that would accommodate multiple tents. So anyways, 12.7 miles, Lutz Lake. So we're 14.3 miles in and really getting into the heart of the Goat Rocks now. Still quite a bit of snow, so it's always kind of a dice roll. You're hoping there's not so much snow that it's going to frighten you when you cross through the Goat Rocks. It's about 14.7 miles. And from this spot at the 14.7 mile mark, there's actually a small boot trail that goes down into the alpine trees down there. And there's actually a ton of really good campsites down there. And the creek flows down in through next to them. So it's a fabulous spot to resupply water. The other great thing is I camped there a couple years ago and just as a staging spot to go through the Goat Rocks over the Knife's Edge, and you actually get a little bit of internet service down on the bottom there, which was really surprising that you got service this far into the wilderness. I was actually able to get some text messages out camping in that spot. So we're at that 15 mile mark. a steep climb up out of the bottom where I showed you those campsites, and we just stopped right here and did a refill on the water supply. That water's coming right off the snow field. Nice and cold. 15.9 miles, still huffing and puffing my way up into the Goat Rocks. I'm dying on the inside just a little bit right now. The views are absolutely fantastic. There's looking out to Rainier. Yeah, that's just, wow, that's beautiful. Still gasping for breath. That's what we're hiking through right now. 16.4 miles at the intersection with the Coyote Trail, which means we're about to tackle the knife's edge, so it's time to take a break, get some food, and let the legs rest before we climb that thing. So we're starting the climb up over to get across the knife's edge, and it is still pretty relentless and uphill at this point. Definitely a grind, and there's still a lot of snow over by the old snowy bypass, so it's going to be interesting to see how I feel when I get to it. Try and just let the video run a little bit while I cross through here. Try not to miss anything. It's one of those things where you know you won't be back for a long time. You can see why it's hard to take video, because by the time you get here, you're pretty tired. You're not wanting to do video. In fact, what I'd rather have right now is my hiking poles out, affording a little more stability. So it's, do I take the time to shoot video, or do I use my hiking pole so I don't fall? So I found a not so sketchy spot, so I can take a quick break and show you what it's looking like. It got sketchy enough to where there was no way I was going to shoot video while I was doing it. I wanted my hands free for scrambling. That's what it looks like. Pretty darn amazing. Boy, a lot of work to get to see it. I'm right at, where am I at right now? 17.1 miles is where I'm at. So, and I still am not close enough to the snow crossing to determine whether I'm going to have what it takes to do it. So 18.1 miles at the intersection with the old snowy alternate. So either choose to go up and try to avoid the snow crossing, but you have to gain a lot more elevation, or you stay on the PCT and you go for the snow crossing. I hate snow crossings, but my legs are tired from climbing, so I'm gonna try the snow crossing so I don't have to gain that extra elevation. And if I decide to bail, I can always go up over Old Snowy. So the first snowfield is down. Got another one coming up. I'm not using the gimbal now, so the video might be a bit shaky. That's because I stowed the gimbal so I could focus on the snow crossings. So it was just a bit grueling, but we finished off the knife's edge portion of the hike. It had 3 snow-filled crossings to get across it. And now we're headed down into the snowgrass flats area of the Goat Rocks. I'm glad the knife's edge is done. That was a slow slog. It took me about an hour more than what I had anticipated. So it's going to be pretty hard at this point to meet my mileage goal for the day, but we'll see. With all the cramping I had doing the climbing through there, I don't know though. Nineteen and a half miles, still in the snowgrass flat area. Just a nice little shot with Adams in the foreground. The big boulder down there is actually split in half, with trees growing up in the middle of the split. It's one of the coolest things in the snowgrass flats area, actually. 20.4 miles. You hit the junction with the Snowgrass Flat Trail. Got Adams in the foreground and getting ready to leave the core of the Goat Rocks behind. Goodbye. I'll do you again maybe next year with less weight in my pack. No camera gear. I think the thing killing me today is I was paranoid about not being able to charge my camera gear. So I'm carrying way too many battery packs. My pack went from being light to being ridiculous. And now I'm paying the price today. Mile 21.4. Have a nice rock field off to the left on the trail. I really like looking at these. They're fun to hike through or hike past. Although I am done with rocks on the trail today. A nice rock wall to protect the trail. So we're getting close to the Cispus Creek now. We're 22.4 miles in, and then we'll have to do the big climb. Hopefully the last big climb of the day over to Cispus Pass, which is going to be right up in there. So, yay, another climb. Woo! So we're coming up on the Cispus River crossing before we get to climb up to Cispus Pass. How's it going?
I'm Good, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. You just kind of hope the snow bridge holds out until you get across. And now up we go. Still making my way up to Sispus Pass. Just stopped to put a little Leuco tape on a hot spot on my foot so I don't get a blister. And although this is a significant climb, it's nothing like the one that went up into the Goat Rocks.
Nice, isn't it, that one?
The J section's beautiful. I like to start at Stevens on that one though, so I lose elevation.
We went from Stevens to Snoqualmie too.
Yeah, I think it's a
And
much better.
People go north, and I'm like, holy cow!
Yeah, it's like a 13-mile uphill just right out of the gate.
Oh.
And I'm thinking,
I know.
why would you do that to yourself when you can?
Well, they're going to Canada.
Yeah,
They're doing the whole thing.
I don't mind doing them out of order. It's all good. So almost 24 miles, and you arrive at Sispus Pass. They have the sign there with the elevation. And now we're looking out into the next basin, and we can see the trail stringing out through there. So next major thing to see is probably going to be Sheep Lake, and then I'll need to assess for myself whether I'm going to stay there tonight or try to go further. I had planned on going quite a bit further than that. The traverse across the Goat Rocks took me longer than I expected it to. That I was doing really well, and then I hit that final climb up into the Goat Rocks and completely lost the pace that I needed to hold. So we'll assess things when we get to Sheep Lake. We'll see if I have to stay there tonight. If I do, I'll need to get up extra early the next day and try to make up some mileage in order to stay on my itinerary. That's just gorgeous out here. Look at it. Kind of pleasing. I like this. And there's no mosquitoes up this high, which I also like a lot. I've managed to go the entire day without any DEET. I just walked really fast when I got it too low where I was in forested areas. I just picked up my speed and tried to outrun them. Seemed to work pretty well. I'm sure tonight in camp I'll have to put on DEET though. So we're just over 30 miles in. Down in the bottom there where that little lake is, I think that's where the cutoff trail that goes down to Walupt Lake is. And I believe there are some campsites just a little ways down that trail. So I'm going to take a chance on that, I think. Instead of trying to get to my original destination, I'm actually only going to be an hour short. So that's not bad, and that would be time I could make up tomorrow. So we just passed the Walupt Lake Junction at 31 miles and decided to try to continue down to my original planned campsite. So we'll see how it goes. Should be there by 8 8-ish if all goes well. So about 34 miles, 34 and a half, and tons of mosquitoes. Arrived at the little pond that was on the map, and there's definitely at least one camp spot here. I'll scrounge around to see if there's a better one, but there's a spot that fits a tent. That's all I care about. So the Pacific Crest Trail Section H, Episode 1, Goat Rocks, and the knife's edge is in the bag. And I am going to get camp set up and go to bed. Get outside.